Okay. Let me bring this up. I don't know if I'll have any mods in today, but that's okay. Don't think that that gives anyone a free pass. Because I can ban as well. Don't test me. Interesting. Very interesting. Understood. Thank you for letting me know. I don't know if you are watching this right now, but thank you if you are. Okay. So let me start out as usual with the disclaimer. I know it's boring, but it has to be done. Please be careful when viewing this. This contains mentions of death, suicide, doxing, fake-claiming, harassment, trauma, sexual abuse, slurs, sexual themes, trafficking, etc. We will be referring to this person as Patterson and using they/them pronouns to prevent claims of deadnaming and misgendering. We do not know the name nor pronouns they currently go by. Any deadnaming or misgendering is not intentional and not done out of malice. Any documents, messages, etc. will be read as they are written, but any of our own commentary will use Patterson and they/them pronouns. Please do not attack, harass, or seek out anyone mentioned here. This is in no way, shape, or form meant to be a personal attack or harassment campaign. There's only been one narrative out in the public, and that has been Patterson & Co.'s. Now that we are in a better mental space and a much safer environment, it's time to tell our side. We do not support anyone using this as a reason to go out and attack anyone, especially in our name. Do not try to dig for more information about these people, including but not limited to phone numbers, relative contact info, etc. The claims against us are abhorrent and false. We will be showing evidence wherever possible. This includes videos, screenshots, comment logs, chat logs, voicemails, audio recordings, etc. Anything redacted will be explained for full transparency. Most things shown will have no redactions. This includes videos, voices, faces, chat logs, etc. This is for full transparency. If the people involved in these did not want this to be shown, they should have shown everything to begin with instead of spreading lies and conspiracies without proof. None of these streams are scripted beyond this beginning disclaimer. This document is for our own organization to sort evidence and stay on track. These streams are unedited. You may see a switch, dissociate, cry, become triggered, have flashbacks, etc. We will do our best to give trigger warnings where applicable, but we cannot guarantee anything. From this point on, please be responsible for and aware of your own triggers. The channel and these streams are not for children. If you are under the age of 18, please leave the page. Boring disclaimer is done. It is also in the description if you need a reminder. So, I'm hoping to get through at least the Tucker portion today. Maybe also the Arachnid Witch portion. This will not go over Arachnid's Google Doc on us. That will be in a separate stream, because that is a long document that needs to be its own stream. I don't know when that stream will happen, but that will be its own separate thing. So, when was this? I just need to check. Okay, this was this past year, so 2025. So this friend request would have come in 2024, I believe. Right? It would have been 2024. Okay. So these are screenshots from our notifications. We had gotten 2 notifications within 10 minutes of each other on December 16th, 2024. One was from Tucker the Turtle, aka Tucker the Furry, and the other one was from this Nathan person. Not sure how to pronounce that. I don't think we have a date on this. But this May is Your Demise 25 account is Tucker. And I will show proof of that in later screenshots, where Tucker admits to that being them. So this was our status update. As you can see, they commented on it. They mentioned us in something. They commented on another journal that we did and on something else. So we did not, on our profile too, and to someone who had bought something from us. So we did not seek out this person. This person came to our page and started harassing us through comments. I can scroll up. Is that enough? There. So like I said, we don't have a date for these screenshots, but it is sometime in 2025, maybe in May. I know that it happened when the DMs, around the same time that the DMs happened. but I'm going to say early to mid 2025 was when this happened. So they commented on a status update on DeviantArt that we had posted, sharing a post of theirs, and then said, "Enjoy your PII nudes and exposing evidence on you being released." They mentioned us in that post. They commented on our commission journal saying transphobic POS. And then sent the same comments that they had on one of the other posts on another post. Okay, so this was after April 14th of 2025 then. And then they commented on our profile saying, "We have all the evidence on you. Come out now and stop hiding. Lies can't save you now." And again, posting this. Then they commented on our commissions saying, "My fucking 5-year-old daughter can draw better than you. You are terrible." And then they replied to someone who had bought designs from us, saying, "Hey, maybe don't buy from this piece of shit pedophile. I know several people have warned you, or at least thought about doing so, maybe fucking listen and stop giving a literal abuser money so they can abuse their victims more. Also, these are all stolen. I know because I own one." None of the designs that we've sold are stolen. The ones that... Who was it at the time? Corey version 1? And maybe Corvin? The ones that those two had redesigned were not sold. And then, so we make copies of everything. And if we can't make a copy of it, then we take screenshots, like we did here, because they limited what we could do, so nobody could make a copy of it, download it, print it, or email it. And this is Tucker's document. And we found this because it was in the post that was sent to us in our comments. We did not go looking for this. So it says, if you wish to see her PII, it's behind several links to protect the stock from getting taken down. If you are sensitive to doxing, please click away. Let's get this criminal what she deserves. Oh, and yes, all of the evidence on her, literally all of it, is linked there as well. She cannot run away this time. So, Kira, 'cause I know you're reading this. Good luck, get fucked. Hints. Click on the image below with the red text to get to the link. I don't know if the QR code is still something that works, so please do not scan it. If you do, that is on you. I've done what I can to warn you about it. It says, to avoid having this Google Doc taken down, I've hidden Kira Marie Granatella's PII behind 2 links. Please spot her and spread the docs to get justice. Again, with the hint saying click on the red text or scan this QR code. There's a QR code. And then there were more. There was another account, this Meg021 free fall account. They said, I'm not sure what this was a comment on. They said, you have been given a fuck ton of pretty damning, undeniable evidence, which you have chosen to ignore. This is why everyone assumes, aside from many other coincidences, that you are Magic Clan. Even if you aren't, you're just as deranged as they are due to the fact you refuse to listen to logic and believe literal evidence. You have been given endless chances to look at evidence and have refused to do so. The victim is severely traumatized and gets extreme panic attacks and flashbacks, leading into spirals of self-harm and attempts to end their life. If magic, I'm not going to read that word, but you can read it to yourself, wants nothing to do with their abuser, they would stop harassing them, lying about them, slandering them, faking shit about them, and trying to silence them speaking up about what they've been through repeatedly. The victim is heavily traumatized and is not stable enough to make their own documented proof on Magicland. Despite all of this, you have proudly and strongly supported Magicland and actively gotten involved in the harassment of their victim, refusing to hear anyone out. So you're clearly acting right now because your past actions have proven otherwise. To clear some things up, for starters, Magicland was not granted a restraining order. It is a harassment injunction, and it was hardly taken seriously by the court as they have not actually punished the victim. Rather, Magicland has abused the justice system and used it as a way to further abuse, slander, and dox their victim for nearly 4 years. Second, the victim didn't show up to court in time because they got time zones messed up. Third, you're going to believe the same justice system that lets rapists, murderers, pedos, and abusers in general walk away scot-free or with little punishment. It is a common abuse tactics abusers use to get a harassment injunction or restraining order on their victims so that they may continue their abuse and harassment unbothered and with no consequences. We did try and look this up. I do remember doing this. We found nothing. We found nothing about abusers getting restraining orders against their victims to continue abusing them. If anyone can find something, I would love to see it. And that is genuine. That is exactly what Magicland has done here, especially since it's a one-way order. They can harass their victim all they want, but the victim can't do shit back. It's a way to silence them from speaking the truth of the horrors Magicland has done to them. Fourth, the victim desperately tried to get it taken down, not so they can contact Magicland, but to get their address and information off there, and to generally stop Magicland's harassment. They were not denied a restraining order because they didn't have proof. Remember what I said about the victim not showing up due to time zone confusion, coupled with the fact they are mentally disabled? Yeah, well, if you don't show up, the person is granted an automatic win, no matter if they are actually the one in the wrong or not. Because of that is why they won, not because their evidence was true or that they're actually the victim here. Well, because Magicland showed up, the victim, who is poor, disabled, and unable to drive, was told to show up in person with a lawyer to testify against what Magicland said. The judge literally asked, Miss Granatella, is it true you've done these things? And they said, no, I haven't. It's literally as simple as that, because after that the case needs to be escalated. Having no money, no way to drive, being severely disabled, and it being peak COVID time, they had no choice but to not show up. This was also the case for trying to get the harassment injunction, which Magicland wants to lie and paint it as a restraining order when it is not and is far from the case. Because when they tried to get it dismissed or get the courts to do something about Magic Clan abusing the harassment injunction to further harass and abuse their victim, plus ruin their life for the next 4 fucking years. They were told to show up in person with a lawyer. The victim lives across the entire country from Magic Clan and is well over 1,000 miles away. They were given a chance to show up online, and they did, but after that they were told to come back with a lawyer in person. In Wisconsin, law states that unless it is a familial matter, you are not required to show by person. The justice system is corrupt as fuck, because although it wasn't a familial matter, they still tried to force him to show up in person. Because of this, he was not able to get any of the legal help he desperately needed for justice and to be free of Magic Clan's continued worsening abuse, plus stalking, plus harassment, plus slandering, plus doxing. There are so many run-on sentences in this entire comment. This is such a long comment. One thing that I will say is that they are not 1,000 miles away anymore. They are much closer since we moved. Tell me how this, also shown below, is not deadnaming, doxing, and misgendering. All of this is extremely violent transphobia, as well as a smear campaign, coupled with the fact they have impersonated people before, faked screenshots before, etc. This is not something new. Who have we impersonated? That's one of the most ridiculous claims I've heard. They have done this before. The most notable and most recent example, aside from their main victim, is a Minecraft server they were previously in. No details given, no evidence given. And the screenshot just highlights us saying Patterson's name and using she, her pronouns, because at that time we did not know, which is why we are referring to them as Patterson and using they, them pronouns now. Additionally, so far only other people have been able to fully speak up for the victim because, as I've stated, he's extremely traumatized and gets severe panic attacks talking, thinking about, or hearing about Magic Clan. He's definitely not stalking when he can't even see their name brought up without a breakdown and panic attacks. So that's why you were streaming or reacting to our stream? Okay. He has ended in the hospital and tried to take his life several times because of Magic Clan, and coupled with the fact that Magic Clan went on a throwaway account to tell him to kill himself, basically, he actually did attempt and was hospitalized. I'm sorry, what? Excuse me? I haven't actually read through most of these screenshots, I've just skimmed them. On another note, Magic Clan claims that their victim used the real suicide of a real-life little girl to express his suicidal feelings, but that is far from the case. Many people still don't know this, so read. Sorry, we just got a text. Oh. Okay. We'll go down and check that when we go to check mail. Ruru is not Roro. Ruru is inspired by Roro and other victims, but Ruru is meant to represent everyone who struggles with suicide. That is why you see Ruru changing heights. Ruru is nothing but a fictitious caricature made up to represent suicidal people, people struggling with thoughts and attempts of suicide, victims of bullying, and those who have committed. It is partially based on Roro-chan, yes, but the character is not real, nor did the victim use her death for clout like Magicland claims. They used the song to express their feelings because, as I've said, they are mentally disabled and had no other way to express it but in song. The song has almost next to nothing to do with the real case of Roro-chan. Additionally, Roro-chan was someone who talked about wanting to sexually abuse her little brother. I like how we celebrate Rapal's death, but we don't condemn Roro for her wrongdoings. It's disgusting and definitely double standards. We'll go over the whole Ruru thing in another stream. You may visit this document for the current evidence on Magicland, but everything comes in slowly. Hold on. Oh, they did. Is it anything interesting? I don't know if I might have to type this out. Interesting. But everything comes in slowly due to the victim being severely traumatized. I couldn't imagine going through this for even an hour, so I cannot begin to comprehend how horrific it is to undergo this treatment for 4 fucking years. I don't know if that Google document is still up. And then the May is Your Demise 25. Says, oh, and if you check the actual link, it wasn't a doxing post. You fell for it. I caught you all red fucking handed. I'm still not sure what they mean by that. Okay, so this is the May is Your Demise person saying, Magicland certainly has been harassing them. There's even an audio recording, but keep going off. I didn't say delete it, I'm saying to private it. That's that person's actual fucking address and their parents' names. It even has pictures of them as a child. I don't know where these claims are coming from. I still haven't seen any proof of that. We were scrolling through one of our servers last night, I believe. Maybe the day before. Okay, I'll deal with that later. It's fine. But I did see a screenshot in one of the servers of their Twitter profile where they themselves had posted. They were an adult at the time when they posted this and said in the caption, "This is me when I was 9." and they had posted pictures of themselves as a child on their public Twitter account when they were an adult. So if that's what that's referring to, I don't know if that was ever in our document. I don't think it was ever in our document. That's going way too fucking far, and that is beyond deranged. Besides, this person is likely dead right now, so please shut the fuck up about them. You don't know shit. They were my friend, and I never, not once, got involved until today. If MagicClam privates her document and moves on, we will all cease working on ours so that the victim may rest in peace instead of having a war still going on despite them being 6 fucking feet under. Patterson is not dead. Patterson was not dead when this was sent. This was just an attempt to guilt trip and manipulate. Then they said, if not, we will make sure to raise hell in honor of how hard they held on for 4 fucking years undergoing MagicClan's abuse. Okay, let me zoom out and move this over. So this is the Tucker the Turtle account. And these are not screenshots between us and Tucker, this is screenshots between someone else and Tucker. So I'm just going to I'll just call them the name that they have on here. You can read it, it's fine. Spoon says May 12th, 2025. I'm ready when you are. If you are the right person, if you're someone random, sorry. Tucker responds with, alright, I just need a minute to plug the mic in. No, I am the one from DeviantArt. I know this situation is tough, but neither party is innocent here. Anyways, let me get my mic. Spoon says, BRB, gonna get some water. Tucker says, same here. I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to have a voice changer on. I always have had one ever since I was 12 and had my first Skype call. I believe in being able to stay anonymous on the internet. The only things I've ever given out are my name, age, and sexual orientation. Spoon says that's alright. Tucker says, I also want to say, I know who did that upload of MagicClan's deceased aunt. Firstly, we will be going over that too in a future stream. Secondly, it's not our deceased aunt. It's our sister's deceased godmother. We've always been very clear about that. We've heard people claiming that it was our grandmother and now our aunt. No, it was our sister's godmother. If you are going to say things, please get them correct. I'm really sorry that happened, but it was not and never could have been him. So if you remember, in a past stream we went over someone named Pro. That person is going to come up here, and this is where it's going to start becoming relevant why I showed all of the things in the Pro section that I did. So if you need to go back to that stream for reference, please do. I'm not going to go back and forth between them again, but all the information about Pro is in a past stream. but it's relevant right here, right now. It's someone named Pro. On DeviantArt Drama Now blog, he is known as Lupus and Lupus. Everything adds up from the AI-generated picture to the way he typed the title in. And he tied it to Triagonal, one of his enemies. He, as well as Triagonal and Max15205, all 3 banned users, have been doing nothing but harassing MagicClan as well and claim it's for his own good. He has begged them to stop, he has tried blocking, he has tried threatening, they don't knock it off. They are a very harmful lot. Horror, I'll call him. He never ever even knew MagicClan had a deceased family member. So, for reference, Horror is Patterson. It's one of the names that Patterson has gone by. His own mother passed away in February this year. He would never ever go that far, even if he was mad. As far as I know, he's also not stalked the shit out of childhood photos in MagicClan and put them on a document. We will be going over Patterson's document, too, because there is a picture of us as a minor on there. And then Tucker responds to his message about Pro, saying, I'd give you his username, but I'm not going to read that word, has so many you can never keep up. Spoon says, yeah, it's been a whole situation. Sometimes people on the internet just get really fucky and different fingers get pointed at different people, like how some people were accusing this other guy of being MagicClan for some reason. Tucker says, yes, it was a big misunderstanding. Wrong timing too. Someone would block MagicClan and Lifeforms 8 would pop up. Trust me when I say that Horror has been trying to distance himself as much as possible. I want to believe MagicClan was doing the same, but every time I open up that document, I see something new. I believe people change and move on. I always want to believe that. And Horror never looked at MagicClan's pages, not until one of his so-called friends would link him and tell him, look at this, look at this. Well, he did a few times. I don't mean never, ever. Spoon says, I would believe that if it weren't for first-hand accounts from Chroma, the only reason they've come out is because of all the incidents. Tucker says, there were times he genuinely forgot MagicClan existed. I've never seen him so happy other than in those times. But someone would bring MagicClan up again. Also, the whole Allegra thing. Please tell me you don't actually believe that bullshit. Spoon says, the recent controversy was the false design theft accusations, and it doesn't seem like he has been distancing, given that something has popped up about every other month or so. We will be going over the art theft in a different stream, as I have stated many times by now. Unfortunately, there is so much to go over that this cannot be done in just 1 or 2 streams. I don't even know what number stream this is. But it is a lot to cover. It's going to take a while. Tucker says, that was not their design. Okay, Chroma's Sona is a stray copy of Lilith Horror's Sona. What irks Horror is the fact that MagicClan uses it everywhere. If MagicClan wants nothing to do with him, why copy his Sona and make it their literal Sona? Spoon says, might I see pictures of them both side by side? I've seen Chroma's, but not his. Tucker says, additionally, I do know they have DID, so maybe they've genuinely convinced themselves they made that design. Yes, let me grab some from Arachnid's document. Also, is MagicClan still using she, or are they using they? I saw in some streams that there was an alter out quite a lot using she. That does not mean that you use she to refer to us. we've stated many times now. We've always been very clear. If you are referring to us collectively, use they, them. If you are referring to one alter, use their pronouns and their name. We're not going to read this one, it's very small. Two, this will be gone over when we cover Arachnid's document. Spoon says, they, them pronouns usually. The alter that's out in streams is usually Michaela, I believe. And Michaela, for reference, uses she, her, he, him pronouns. And it's not spelled that way. Okay, that was reposted with the censor. I got flashbanged in the memes channel in the server. Anyway, Tucker says, okay, I will swap to they, them then. Please correct me if I mess up. I was there the day he saw that adopt. He auto-bought her. He loved her so much. Before I grab comparisons, I want to clarify the timeline or series of events. After the fallout, Magic Clan had made an irrational decision, which, fine, we all do that. They drew horror Sona getting choked by theirs without permission. We will be going over the event art. That is not what is being depicted in the vent art. We've seen many different claims about what the vent art is that was drawn. We do not think that it should have been posted. That is something that we still stand firm on, and I am sorry that it was ever posted in the first place. That being said, you do not get to twist it around and cut context and claim that something is happening in it where it is not. Although they later claimed it was getting caught in their own lies, however, it doesn't negate the fact their own Sona was sitting there smiling. It's very sadistic. On another vent art of their Sona and horrors, they drew horrors clawing out theirs. Spoon asks, do these images still exist or have they been lost to time? Tucker says, when horror claims they aren't allowed to draw that, Magic claimed it was fan art. He came back with, then Lilith wouldn't have claws. They still exist, let me grab one, I believe even on the archive. We have the archived page. Someone saved the DeviantArt page on an archive website. So we actually have that for when we go over it, with the original description that was in it. It was never us suddenly claiming that it was Patterson getting caught in their own lies. That was always what it was. It will make sense when we get to that part in a different stream. Not going to show that right now. You can pause if you really want to see it. And Tucker says, continuing, Magic Clan drew a piece of Lilith's paw getting violently declawed in response to this. When called out, Magic Clan popped out with the nope, it's my own OC, Allegra, and threw the reference. When called out with proof of Lilith existing in 2018, Magic Clan popped out with this. We'll go over that in a different stream. But Allegra is not a copy of Lilith. They even put their legal name to pretend like it's genuinely an old drawing, but it's far too much of a coincidence. They've also copied designs from Horror's other friends, Royal being one of the affected, which I, of course, had proof on if need be. When asked why it was never posted then, they then took a whole "well, we didn't post traditional art back then" out their ass. I checked their old posts, they definitely did. We will address that in a future stream, because I know what the arguments are, and it's actually in Arachnid stock, so that is probably where that will be addressed fully. Spoon says, I will be honest and say, as a character designer, there's only so many ways a MLPOC can be designed so naturally. There's going to be similarities. Only so many people can choose different colors and shapes and whatnot. Tucker says, yes, but you have to admit that's too much of a coincidence. Magicland won with Horror went, OMG, what a lovely OC. Then after made that bad art, I don't mean bad as in ugly, I mean bad as in morally wrong. After being called out, kept changing the story. We've always stuck to our story. It is too much of a coincidence for it to not have been a straight copy. I know from what I've seen that you really care about magic and you believe them. I won't force you to believe it, but I know what the truth is here. But this also isn't the only incident. Spoon says, oh, also, I apologize for the short, slow responses. I've been processing the information and making logical conclusions, so I'm a bit slow. Tucker says, incident after incident, how can it be a coincidence anymore? You are all good. I understand. Take your time. A lot of harassment Magicland received from alts they believed were horrors were really from the likes of Max15205, Triagonal, and Pro/Lupus. Those three have done nothing but harm Horror. It is not because they are friends. I'm not joking. Search Triagonal up and you'll see why they are not friends. Tri loves to insert themselves into drama and worsen things, and act like they did nothing wrong and try and comfort the victim. For a while, Horror fell for the comfort. Which reminds me, because I did want to bring this up, even though it's not technically part of the Tucker section. We found an old screenshot and we had received comments on our DeviantArt. And it all adds up a little too much. So we have this screenshot. This was taken from Toy House, I don't know how long ago. But Masked Froggy and Frokio are both usernames that Patterson has used. I don't want you to pay attention to that one. I want you to pay attention to the Slushy Boyo one. So these are all the usernames that Patterson has used in the past. But specifically pay attention to the Slushy Boyo one, because that's about to come up. We received these, and we did feature the comments because we found them funny. So, February 4th of this year, Slushy Boyo comments. You don't even have an RO against anyone. You never have. LMAO. You manipulated the justice system for a flimsy harassment injunction, which you never needed considering you're the one harassing, and you will be getting consequences for it very soon. Then they commented on our profile saying, grow up. Just because you made a design doesn't mean you get to make hate art and post block contact against your newest victim. This is why no one will ever believe your deranged ass. Also, you do not have an RO against anyone and never have. And then they commented on another thing saying you don't get to make art of other people's OCs. That OC was adopted long before you updated your TOS, so fuck off. Also, stop making hate art of people's OCs, Kira. Jesus Christ, grow up, would you? Pushing 30s, yet still acting like this. Thanks for the new proof, though, by the way, dumbass. Slushy boyo, huh? It's the same username. It's the same username. But that's all I wanted to bring up with that. Because I found that screenshot in one of the servers recently, and I recognized the name and checked notifications, and there it is. So, Spoon says, given what Chroma has told me about him, honestly, I can understand where the rage came from. I'd never make art like that, but when you're hurt, you do vindictive stuff. I don't know if Chroma has apologized for the art, but I'm sure they will as long as things aren't iffy. Again, I do apologize for the art being posted. It should not have been posted. Making it is one thing, posting it is another. Have these three people even given a reason? Tucker says sometimes they act like they're doing what's best for him, or they lie and say it wasn't them when it clearly was. Okay, but yes, Chroma has done horrible things too. They both lashed out repeatedly and it led into a never-ending cycle. That's why I wanted so badly for all of this to stop. We all did. Magic's friends were worried, begging them to stop involving themselves. This is another claim that we've heard multiple times, that our friends begged us to get therapy and begged us to get help. We've never seen any proof of this because it didn't happen. Our friends want what's best for us. They were concerned about us because of how much this was affecting us. And honestly, still is. But they never begged us to go to therapy or begged us to get help or anything like that. The fact that the document is up at all gave Horror endless panic attacks, not to mention all the flashbacks he would just get. Spoon says, if this is a misunderstanding, then by all means we'll pull out, but of course there's the matter of what do we do if the three keep doing that shit? And then Spoon replies to the panic attacks and flashbacks saying, and the same applies for Chroma, because it does. Tucker says there's a channel doxing Laird, Trigonal. And Tucker says, if he makes it through this, I can try and get him to take his stuff down as well, but from what I understand, the last time an agreement like this happened, only Horror's evidence was deleted, not the other side. Let's be frank, they both fucking hurt each other repeatedly. One thing I want to point out right now is, if we are this dangerous person preying on children, manipulating everyone, actively dangerous and abusive. Why would you ever delete evidence against us if you had it? If we were a pedophile like Patterson claims, why would you ever delete any evidence of that? That doesn't make any sense. Spoon says, hurt equals hurt. It was a friend fallout that went badly from what you're saying. All of us are willing to delete the evidence and pull back. Tucker says, it is impossible to claim only one is hurting or one got hurt more than the other. Considering what Patterson has done, even recently, going as far as to fake claim our disorder, say that we were never trafficked and that there's no child sexual abuse material of us, proceeding to post a TikTok with proof of a phone call with a cop saying that the cop knows we're faking DID and that the cop said there's no child sexual abuse material of us online and that the cop knows our family. And then Patterson retracted that and said, actually, there is child sexual abuse material of Chroma, but they still weren't trafficked. No, this hurt, it's not equal. It's not equal at all. It never has been. And I'm tired of people framing it as both of us fueling the fire equally. Yes, we've done things to escalate the situation in the past, which was not okay for us to do. But you cannot sit here and listen to this and see everything and read everything that we've shown so far and say that we're just as bad, because we are not. Spoon says, haha, slow typing, sorry. Tucker says, I am also so willing. You are all good. Fuck, I mean, I've heard horror crying multiple times, saying they wish they never fell out, that none of this happened, that he could go back and make it all like it never happened. Start over. Not because of an obsessive nature, but because he does also feel bad at times. I don't believe that for a second. Not after what Patterson said. Spoon says, likewise with Chroma right now, they're terrified of being swatted. If what you're saying is true, it's a cruel campaign by 3 randos with nothing better to do. Tucker says they luckily don't have their information. But I agree, even horror is at risk with these 3. One of them tries to call him she, her, and claim he's his girlfriend. That's interesting. It's disgusting incel behavior. Trigonal is very dangerous. And Max has a cease and desist order placed on him by Interpol and New Zealand police for his repeated cyberbullying at horror. Spoon says, of course I will add this stipulation beforehand. There will be open communication between you and I as the bridge so that if any of the three stooges does anything, we can be certain it wasn't horror. Once we are certain horror has privated their doc, we will private ours. I do not wish to have anyone delete anything just to be safe. I apologize if you can hear. I believe it's a dragon scratching. Either trying to dig or trying to climb. We did add in, I think, half of a bag of orchid bark to each of their enclosures today. So they have more room to dig and climb. And they both seem to be enjoying that. And Dragon has been active a lot more lately, which is very good. It's definitely a sign that he is finally settling in and feeling more comfortable. He's eating more. But I want to say this now. This conversation, we aren't in this conversation. Yes, we were talking with Spoon, but it was basically Spoon suggested that we play along with Tucker's demands. And that was all it was, but there is... We weren't involved in this conversation, so we never made any deals. Tucker says, do you know the link to theirs? Horror has had a habit since they first joined the internet of having a lot of accounts. He may have to look through all of his accounts. My question is why? Why do you need so many? What are you afraid of? Spoon says, link to horrors or no? Tucker says, yeah, he will have to look. Additionally, I lost my train of thought. I forgot what I was about to say. Spoon says, I do have chromas though, yes. Tucker says, oh, arachnid. I will have them back down. I mean, Scott has already backed down. People like arachnid can be reasoned with. People like Max, Try, and Pro cannot. Here is where Tucker admits that the doc was made by him. Spoon says, I will say that threatening to leak nudes and making a fake link to fool people is beyond pathetic, and that puts me at a disposition to not entirely trust you, but I am being reasonable and understanding of both sides. Tucker says, it is true, that's not a very good thing I did. It is pathetic, I cannot deny that, and I claim accountability for that. Spoon says, if it is just the three, then every time either of them does something, we can confirm it through here just to be safe. Tucker says, fact, hell, I wouldn't care if any of you made a call out on me, just as long as horror was left out of it. He didn't ask me to do this, and I don't want him to be responsible for it. And then Tucker says, agreed here. Max is very reportable through New Zealand's online cybercrime forum, if Magic ever wanted to. He already has one cease and desist because NZ takes cybercrimes very seriously. Spoon says, there's no point in calling out you, and I don't particularly have a platform. And Chroma only ever makes posts about stuff like this when they're being directly attacked. Tucker says, understandable. Correcting a typo. Acknowledging that. Spoon says, I'll relay this information to Chroma and the rest of us, and I'm sure you'll do the same regardless of our opinions on Chroma or horror. This arrangement is in our best interest to ensure that they remain separate and we all know what's going on. Tucker says, exactly, and I really appreciate you being reasonable like this. I do. I know horror does. I know everyone involved does. Or he will anyways. I really do hope he's okay. Spoon says, I give you permission to send screenshots of my messages to your friends. May I do the same for easiness sake? Tucker says, it's possible he could have just fallen asleep really hard. Yes, you may, and thank you. Spoon says, I do hope he's alright. Right now we're having to keep a close eye on Chroma as well. I'll go back on call with them for support. You're welcome. Tucker says, I hope they will be okay as well. I don't want anyone dying or hurting. And then I'm not sure what day this is. Because these are not screenshots that we took. These are screenshots that Spoon had taken and sent to us and other friends in a group chat. Tucker says, good news, they're going to be contacting horror when they can to make sure it all checks out. They said if so, they're more than happy to go along with this, so now it's just a matter of horror receiving that friend request. And this is from Hollow Wolf Pup. I don't know how well it can be seen on stream. It's very, very small. But it is a note to May is Your Demise 25, which more proof that that was Tucker's account. And Hollow says, I gotcha. I'm gonna get in touch when I get home from work. But if it all checks out, I'm more than happy to go along with this. Thank you for reaching out. If you're in touch with the horror, I know well wishes and all that don't do shit, but let them know we're in his corner. And that was when Hollow decided to make a DeviantArt post on us, claiming that we stole designs with absolutely no proof behind it. Spoon said, alrighty, I'll relay the information to Chroma real quick. Then, I don't know when this was, or what the conversation was before it. Again, these are not screenshots that we took. These are ones that we had received. Tucker says, agreed, he's been listening to my advice quite well and distancing himself from them. It is definitely awful when that happens. I'm glad to hear that as well. I don't know if this helps put Chroma's mind at ease at all or not, but I did see they were worried about white violence, this being an alt account of horrors. It is. As far as I'm concerned, and with the voice messages they left, I do believe them to be a different person. I think Horror was trying to find uses for his old discords and gave them it. So maybe Chroma saw the name change. If that's not the case, I'm not sure where else this become a worry at. Additionally, Scott and Arachnid Witch are also separate people and have both been cooperative in backing down thus far. I don't know if there's any other concerns like that or that'll help clear their worries, but I thought I'd mention it just in case. Spoon says, alrighty, Chroma was worried about Arachnid. I'll relay this information to them. Tucker says, although Violin does use their own Discord now. Oh, I have to warn you, Horror just let me know that he just remembered a while back, Laird and Pro, 2 of the 3 ne'er-do-wells made an impersonation account using Chroma's face and tagged Magicland on a site called Newgrounds. We did try to tell them not to do it, but knowing what we know about those people, they obviously weren't going to listen. He said it'd just make things worse and make him look worse. He said he'd report it, but he doesn't know much about Newgrounds. Laird Triagonal is infamous for stealing usernames and impersonating. Spoon says, oh god, I'll be sure to tell Chroma, but like none of us use Newgrounds, so I don't know how we'll deal with that, but it's good to know. That was dealt with very quickly when we found that out. Newgrounds was very quick to respond and very good about it. May 26, 2025. We have a timestamp again. Hey, I was wondering if Allegra's going to be taken off Art Fight this year until she's been redesigned. Spoon says, I'll ask tomorrow. Perhaps could you message me again tomorrow to remind me so I don't forget? Tucker says, sure, I'll check back in tomorrow. Spoon says, that's not important. You can pause to read if you want to. And then June 8th. Tucker says, are you 100% sure that Chroma isn't looking at their profiles? Horror hasn't said much to me, but I see Chroma's posts lining up with Horror's being much earlier in post date. Could just be me not 100% trusting them to not do things, but that's why I'm checking in and not accusing. I'm mostly just concerned for Horror's mental health. They don't really seem to notice though, so... I do also want to mention that Max is trying to start up with Horror once again, and so they made a post about it. They met Max shortly after September 16th, so it's also been 4 years on that end. But if there are any concerns, feel free to ask me for clarification. I don't think Max will be targeting Chroma, thankfully, but if anything pops up, you can let me know and I can try and solve it. Spoon says, Chroma's been really big on Roblox recently. They've been playing lots of different games. I believe this is about the Roblox drawing game post. If so, I can pretty much confirm that they've been playing a bunch of different games. We got them into Roblox like roughly a month ago, I think. Also, they do want reassurance that designs won't be stolen and the cops won't be called on them. Oh, also, because I forgot, let me send their Persona's new design. I think they meant Pony-Sona. But this was designed by one of our friends. It's the current design of Allegra. And I believe the concern was about us playing Draw and Donate, which had come up on our recommended multiple times before any of the other, I guess, more popular ones. There are a lot of obscure games that end up popping up on our homepage. But that's the only... That was the first, and so far the only drawing game that we've used on there. So Tucker says, okay, cool, thank you for clarifying my worry, I appreciate it. Yeah, Horror has agreed to move on. It's more trouble than it's worth, especially now that things are being resolved. Looks great, I really appreciate them changing it. Then June 12th, I'd be cautious of anyone talking about Horror going forward. This pro-asshole just started another fight, and, well, Horror isn't really doing too well. He has all of their information, so I wouldn't trust someone that can prove it either. He will likely try to start up a fight with Chroma out of spite, and knowing that it'll get Horror in physical danger, so I'd watch out for that. He most often pretends to be female, Asian, and a young woman. He victimizes hard, has a thing for spanking kids, yes, in that way, and types the same way every time, even when he pretends it isn't him, which he frequently does to get out of trouble. Highly dangerous individual, 40-odd years old, and picking fights with not only Horror, but literal children and other people as well. He has been hurting people on the internet for quite literally over 15 years. I'd give you his username, but he ban-evades and has more alternate accounts than you'd even think was possible. Another thing, he loves AI artwork. Spoon says, good God, you'd think someone that age would act like an actual adult. I'm relayed with this info to Chromo. Tucker says, he acts more like a child than the child he just tried to verbally abuse last night. What day was this, actually? This was June 12th. That's an important date. That's an important date. If you go back to the police reports, that's an important date. and he has been causing drama more than that child's been alive. He also likes to take the piss out of disorders like DID, specifically because it targets horror. He also likes to fuck around with amnesia and manipulate based off of disorder. Spoon says, right now Chroma is dealing with enough something happened in our personal friend group. We're all right, but hopefully horror stays away, especially for the time being. Tucker says, I also want to say there was a time Chroma was DM'd on TikTok and they said something about Kylo that was pro. Also, Triagonal was in on it. Tucker says, hope it gets better. Horror isn't going to come to any of you. He hasn't in a long time. If anyone, it'd be pro out of spite. This is all June 12th, when the police report was made by Patterson claiming that we were doxing people all across the country. Tucker says, someone I know, not really a threat, just helps keep an eye on things when I cannot. Suggests maybe to not put it in a public stream if you don't want people finding out. Don't know what that's about, but said to forward it on, hoping it'll help. I don't know if that'll help, but they said it could, wasn't specific on what exactly they meant. Spoon says, right now Chroma's more occupied with the situation at hand, so you don't have to worry about that. Tucker says, I was told context. Yeah, I don't think Chroma should be doxing more people, considering the last person they doxed and slandered was not half as dangerous as they made it out to be. This is very illegal behavior and I understand they're upset, but doxing is too far. I'm sorry. Us showing someone's face that they've showed publicly, saying their first name, a handful of account names, and saying the state that they live in and the place that they worked, and the name of their manager. The first name of their manager, mind you. We didn't have a last name. How is that doxing? All of that is public information. You can't do anything with that. Do you know how many Little Caesars are in Arizona? Do you know how many people there are named Chloe? Hell, do you know how many people there are named Jay? That's not doxing. It's also illegal, and I can't sit here looking at this illegal comment. I may report it if it isn't taken down. I'm nice and give chances, but you do something illegal and I can't just be like, well, it's okay. This also does nothing but incriminate Chroma, so if they want to look innocent, this isn't how. I want to remind everyone that Jay has looked up and distributed child sexual abuse material of me and my system. I want to remind everyone of that. Spoon says the person who's been doxed grew one of our friend's littles. Tucker said, especially considering they triggered a literal child into a seizure, and there are web archives of old things up. We already went over this. There was no children involved. They were also not epileptic. They saw the word enough and claimed that that gave them a seizure. And then Tucker says that's not being a pedo. If they're in an adult body, it cannot be charged and prosecuted. Littles can't consent. If you think it's not predatory to go after a child alter, then you need to be looked into massively. Spoon said that is, though. Tucker said additionally Chroma did not say that. Spoon says it can't be charged, but it's still nasty. Tucker said they are acting as if it is a literal child. It is. It is. Why would you want to do anything sexual with a child alter? The way they process things is like a child. They're a child. I should not need to explain this. Spoon says, do you not see anything wrong with what happened? It's because of how they traumatized one of our friends. Tucker says, I do, I just don't see a reason to commit a literal crime over it. Not everything is solved with violently doxing others. If you have a real problem, report it to the police. Spoon says, Chroma hasn't done anything remotely as bad. Tucker says, otherwise, shut up and stop doxing. They certainly have. Okay, well, I'm on the phone with East Troy, so I'll be back. This is all on June 12th, which police report says that Patterson called to report us doxing people all over the country. Do I need to spell it out? Or can you connect the pieces? Because the dates line up, the information lines up. I don't know if Tucker for sure is Patterson. But it's not fucking subtle. Spoon says, and we are, but we want to get back at this person. Our friend has been harming themselves over what has been done to them. Do you legitimately not see a problem with someone grooming littles? Tucker says, I didn't report Chroma specifically. I'm asking them of their laws. I'm seeing if it's illegal in the state anyways. Spoon says, it's not because the information is public. As I said, this person is not slick. Tucker says that they do see an issue with someone grooming littles, but says it's not on par with pedophilia. If you are sexual with someone, I don't care if they are in an adult body. Whether they have alters or whether they just age regress, if you see someone in that state and sexualize them, that is pedophilia. That is an issue. And Tucker says, it's pedophilia, just not as extreme as normal. It's not on par. They're an adult, they take responsibility for their littles. And then Tucker says, I mean, Chroma groomed one of Horror's littles. When I go over the chat log of the DMs between mostly Drew at the time, with, I'm assuming, some of Luke and maybe Claire, you'll see why that never happened. Spoon says, no, they didn't. Tucker says, that's been a big claim for a while. Are we gonna ignore that and the evidence? They did. I've seen the reports for one, and for two, Horror was traumatized by it. Spoon says, Chroma didn't know Horror had DID until months after cutting contact. But this isn't about Chroma right now. This is about the pervert who took advantage of my friend. We are all worried about this person taking advantage of more people. Anyways, I'm not going to bring up this person anymore unless prompted, and trust me, you don't want to see the shit they've done. The screenshots we've seen had made us wretched. They're that fucking bad. Also, what evidence? Tucker says, I just hate the hypocrisy here. Chroma has said similar about other systems. It's gross, but I'll drop it for the sake of peace for now. Spoon says, well, if it was something they said, then they don't agree with that point anymore. People have room to change their opinions on things and grow. Tucker says, funny, Horror said that about someone else who changed and Chroma put it in their document. The hypocrisy is insane. I'd say unless they changed, but it was very recent on the document. Give me one moment. Hi. I'm just going to leave my headphones off for now. I'm just gonna sit like this with him. And he can just chill here. Spoon says, oh, well, one, was there someone to tell Chroma they did or didn't change? Because right now I am that person telling you that Chroma's opinions changed. And two, if they have changed, I would tell Chroma to remove it from the doc, but right now the doc is unavailable. Careful. Tucker says, understandable, I will sit on this and allow myself to accept it. Spoon says, because if you don't know about someone you've cut off, how are you supposed to know they've changed or not? Okay. If you're going to be here, you have to stay. Tucker says, I'm a little uptight because approach it right now and past things that have been said. And that's what everyone said about Horror to Chroma. That's why I think this was also dumb to begin with. Spoon says, and that's understandable. I'm snippy because of what's going on right now as well. With the pervert, that is. Tucker says they are definitely disgusting as shit. I misworded things heavily. I don't know how I'd word it, so I won't. Spoon says, I'm not going to hold anything against you, as you are not going to hold anything against me. Right now, my people skills are at an all-time low. I'll leave the situation as do not interact with this person. They're dangerous, so do stay away from them. And also, I won't talk about them any further unless prompted. Tucker says, thank you for the warning. I'm just blocking that person on platforms. Can't block Discord without signing a request, so I'll just assume I'll never meet them and not need it ahead of time. June 23rd. Tucker says, good news, I don't think Pro will be trying anything. Bad news, since Chroma is publicizing their Roblox stuff, it is almost certain Trigonal Lord Tina will harass via that platform. If she doesn't, it'll be good for all of us, but she has harassed Horror via Roblox before, and has harassed Chroma before. Just a heads up. She could do it at any point, by the way. I'm not saying she will right now. Not many updates on our end, but I do want to ask that if Chroma is not constantly seeking Horror out, how did they already find their new username? That's some mega stalking on Chroma's part. All it does is remind Horror that Chroma will never give up the stalking. It's also kind of disgusting they need to get other things on their mind, especially when they're constantly stirring drama with their friends. It's a pattern behavior from before they met and after. Chroma has done this before and continues to. I don't know, it's just icky that they're constantly on Horror's ass. Spoon says, Chroma never brought up anything to me, so I don't know how they would have done it. If it was to block them, then I understand why. On both ends, finding the individual you want to separate from and blocking them is just a good thing to do. Tucker says, one good news, Max is occupied nearly getting arrested for cyber crimes. It's funny because they found a nearly completely privated toy house. Again, major stalking clearly involved. Additionally, if the DeviantArt is taken down, I will know that our deal is no longer honored. Spoon says right now Chroma hasn't even been thinking about Horror. We've been too occupied with the active situation right now. Even if an account is privated, the worry of someone being able to see your stuff while you can't see theirs is unsettling. Tucker says everything is authorized only and other settings were applied to private. Horror doesn't look at Chroma's shit. I just asked them to check something for me. My suspicions of Chroma's continued obsessive stalking is proven evident. Why are you worried if we've blocked your account or not? Unless you're doing something, or planning on doing something. It clearly means that we don't want to interact with you. Partially is my fault for double checking, but also that's just why. I don't know what to think. There is no way in hell Chroma could have found that without doing heavy-duty stalking and obsessive refreshing of pages on previous socials, as they have been proven to done to Horror in the past. Responding to posts within seconds of uploading as an example. Spoon says, it's just going an extra length to be sure that you're away from someone. I know I'm going to have to take similar lengths to keep away from people who I'm not on good terms with. Tucker says, I also don't like how Chroma clearly followed Horror on to draw and donate, just to remind them that they will never get away. Horror has a huge history of posting that game. Spoon says, as I said before, Chroma has recently been into Roblox because of us. So then it is okay for Horror to refresh Chroma's page repeatedly to make sure they aren't copying, just double checking. Spoon says it's one of the most popular games and Chroma is an artist. Liking Roblox and being an artist, there's a chance that you've been on that game. Tucker says it's far from one of the most popular. Spoon says yes, it's okay for Patterson to refresh our page. Tucker says only 1.3k on right now. Grow a Garden has 2 million plus. A simple hangout game has 11k, and it has almost no cons on it. Neither of those are drawing games, if that isn't clear. Please Donate has more, so does Draw Me, and other drawing games. We didn't get recommended those until after we started on Draw and Donate. Spoon says, still for any reason you may pick one game over another. Then Tucker says, Chroma used to complain about it and purposely put heavily triggering content, stuff that triggered horror. They baited it by naming it Stuff Redacted Has Done to Us and has renamed it Art We're in Love With or some BS. Then filled it full of horror's triggers. Horror only looked at it to see what lies Chroma was spreading. Don't look at our page and you won't get triggered. You shouldn't be looking at it to begin with. Which is why we preemptively block you. Spoon says, well, nowadays we have bigger fish to fry than stuff that happened in the past, simply put. Tucker says, if a lawyer would even sue Chroma, they're broke as fuck, so no lawyer will pick that up. Then Horror could 100% sue for legal damages, lying in court and providing false evidence, monetary damages, and emotional/psychological damage. It would still be a valid case to this very day. But Horror can't and isn't going to. If it was me, I would have warned IC3 once again. Horror only reported once, which was a mistake, clearly. Anyways, like I said, if the DeviantArt goes down, I'm sorry, but it'll be too much of a coincidence. That's my only takeaway, I guess. Explaining what IC3 is. And Tucker says, I think if Chroma just stopped obsessing over horror, they wouldn't need to stalk to block their shit. We block it so that you can't come and harass us. Horror just wants peace of mind and to be fully away from Chroma. Spoon even says here, but stalking is whenever you go out of your way to observe someone. Wouldn't blocking someone be the opposite of that? Tucker's saying that we need to get a job, a hobby, improve our art skills, because we use line art tools, which there are very few artists I've seen who don't use line art tools, but okay. Spoon says, right, well, right now we all have better things to do. Chroma blocked Rocky, and that's pretty much the end of it. Tucker says, Rocky. Interesting. Where do you find that name? More stalking, I see. Where's it from? Spoon said, in the old-ass documents. Tucker said, nope, Rocky was not a name they've used before. It's brand new within the past 12 months. Spit it out. Where did it come from? Spoon said, well, of course we've been talking about the active situation. Tucker said, okay, and where did Crumb find that name Rocky? Stalking their Discord, aren't they? What? Which, we did go back and we did do just a tiny bit of memory digging. It was on a Toy House account that Patterson had. So, stop trying to claim that we have spies. Because unlike Patterson, we never had people go into a Discord server that they were in to relay information back to us. So this is one of the reasons why we're not calling Patterson Rocky, because Tucker was very upset at it and said Chroma can get it out of their fucking gob. Feel free to scroll. I'm just gonna start reading off the important bits because my voice is shot. Reading for almost 2 straight hours. We'll do that. They'd stay up in paranoia if they slept, something would happen when they did. That's exactly how Patterson made us feel. Tucker saying that it was violent transphobia that we didn't know Patterson's pronouns and still don't, honestly. Careful, dragon. I have to make sure that he doesn't walk too far forward. Tortoises don't have any depth perception. It was violent transphobia that which they have never and still never took/take accountability for. Shit's over anyways, but it would have been nice if they owned up to literally anything without constantly deflecting. It was always excuse after excuse. I couldn't have known that when they were told by several people and it was public on Horror's page. Also, knowing Horror's name is so rare that only one other person in the entire US has it, when Chroma's is extremely common. No, that's a lie. We are the only person that we have ever found searching up our first and last name online. We've never found anyone else. It's not common. Spoon says, one thing I must mention is because of Chroma's GID, not all of their alters have the memories of all the others, and therefore there's a high chance that only some knew while others didn't. Here Tucker says, I'm sorry, but I cannot take that as an excuse, not when they use that disorder as a crutch 24/7. Explanation, sure. Sexually harassed someone, blamed it on an alter. That never happened, first of all, and second of all, it's a disorder that affects our everyday life, every aspect of our life. We take accountability where needed. We could not have known Patterson's pronouns and still don't really know, or their name. Apologies. Then got into a fight with a friend and claims pedophilia. You mean Jay, who has looked up and distributed child sexual abuse material of my system? That's not just a claim, that's a fact. Tucker says, it's one thing to genuinely suffer from it, another to excuse it constantly and use it as your crutch. And then here Tucker says, wait, I remembered it the wrong way. Chroma said something about like a 15-year-old or something when they were 18 and 19. Probably deleted by now because Horror called it out so fast. We've already addressed this multiple times. Multiple times. Literally no one has Chroma's information. They made sure to withhold it. They didn't on the public court record that I believe the entire record is currently sealed. But our address was in that, and it was the one where Patterson tried to file for their own restraining order against us. Not to mention the petition that had our old address posted. Not to mention the stream that Patterson did, clearly saying our old address. But we're not even in that state anymore, are we? And then Tucker says, especially when Chroma blames random login attempts on Horror. We've never done that. If you're talking about the Facebook and Microsoft ones in our old document, we said straight up in there that we do not know for sure if it is Patterson. We don't know if it's related at all, but we're putting it in there in case. Do not put words in our mouth. So to explain this, Jay found one of our friends' work emails and was harassing them through it. And Tucker assumes that Spoon was talking about us saying that Jay had worked at a Little Caesars and that it was Jay's email that was found. And then here Tucker says, I hope for all your friend group's sake that Pro does not still stalk Chroma streams and videos. There was never any Allegra sex work art. We've done sex work in the past. We've been very open and clear about this. We looked at this channel a little bit and didn't find anything like actually incriminating. I'm not going to say that there's nothing incriminating, but it wasn't anything enough for us to remember it. Here is where we'll go over the art when we get to that in Arachnid Stock. And then Spoon was talking about one of our friends trying to get a restraining order on Jay for the harassment, and Tucker immediately assumes that Spoon is talking about us. He says, Chroma will, I don't think that will look too good on their track record. If they do it less doxing next time, it should be fine. Unsure how to word that, as in, don't use the court link to manipulate people into believing it's public because you really can't find it without the name. I don't think we'll ever go over this video, just because we've had some friends watch it and they said that there was no evidence and it was all bullshit. So I don't feel the need to address it. Here's where it gets more interesting. So if you remember from the pro section, we went over one of the videos that had this screenshot in it. I have, at the touch of a button, the means to send him to jail having to do with his ongoing legal issues. This references nothing other than Chroma. It does not reference us. This Tucker person just wanted to drag us into whatever issue this was. Especially, why would it refer to us when we are not best friends with Patterson and never will be? I don't know what date this is, but Tucker said, hey, I'm sorry to bother you about this, but why is Chroma still foaming at the fucking mouth over horror? We solved the problem on our own. Tell Chroma to stop grasping at fucking straws. It's not cute or funny, nor is this anywhere near victim behavior. A semi-short explanation. I'm not reading all of that. That's a lot. You can pause to read. Another thing, the old streams are still up on YouTube, which are harassment and defamation of horror, including claiming that their fiancé should run away because horror is a very dangerous person. The stream where Chroma sexually harasses horror by talking sexually about them for over 5 minutes straight is also still up, and I ask that be taken down. I don't know if you guys can see him. If not, I will consider it a breach of our deal and of my trust, and I will be putting my own evidences against Chroma up, as well as filing an IC3 for doxing against this other person as well. I sincerely hope it does not have to get to that point, but Chroma hasn't really deleted all of their things like they claim, nor are they actually moving on, again trying to grasp at straws. And still stalking and copying every fucking aspect of horror's life is not moving on, nor is it victim mentality. If you could ask Chroma to take a look and delete those, that'd be great. I can link a few, but Chroma has shit talked in multiple streams and it's very hard to keep track. We have every right to talk about what happened to us. These are just a few of many Chroma has kept up despite the deal we made, despite the fact horror is the only one following the deal, and this is the second time a deal has been made that Chroma has broken and only horror was loyal to it. Accusing us of manipulating Patterson into deleting evidence. It's okay. It's okay. One of the things that he linked was the first stream that I ever did, which addressed the drawings. Not the drawings with Patterson involved in it, but the drawings where people are claiming that we admitted to being a zoophile. This is not a threat, I'm just genuinely not wanting to have to re-escalate just because Chroma can't honor a fucking deal. I will give Chroma no more than 7 days to have all the obvious stream shit-talking horror taken down. I will give Chroma no more than a full month, ending, of course, on October 13th to delete all content revolving horror. No. I can and will use it to discredit Chroma, not in a slander way, in a very factual way so people are made full aware of just the kind of person Chroma is. If this was a mistake, I highly doubt it, but I will be understanding as long as Chroma actually honors the deal and deletes their shitfix. This is the same screenshot, I believe. Spoon asked about this stream specifically. We looked through the transcripts, and the only portion that vaguely mentions them is this throughout the entire 1 hour runtime. This isn't particularly slanderous, just mentioning that a situation is happening. We didn't even say Patterson's name, we said them TM. So if anyone remembers the comment section on Patterson's legendary shade video, you would remember XY Stormwolf YX. Here Tucker says, horror doesn't talk to Storm. I'd also appreciate it if Chroma would stop foaming at the mouth over horror. Still stalking his page, I can tell. Then favoriting bugs to try and trigger him. He doesn't even look at Chroma's ugly fucking art anyways. Can't really call it art when you're abusing the pre-made shapes to do it. What? I can try and ask Storm, but in the end this is Storm's personal list. It has absolutely nothing to do with horror. Storm is an animal abuser and a thief. Nobody talks to Storm anymore for good reason. I am the only person with consistent contact. Awfully convenient that Chroma starts favoriting bugs around that day, when they are the only ones stalking. Chroma needs to back the fuck off before I get the FBI involved in their newest doxing shit fit. Animal cruelty claims were made by the TikTok people Chroma got into a spat with. Yes, this tortoise is obviously very abused and neglected. The grooming claim is also unsure if it's true or not, but it is weird to say you'd date a 15-year-old. Spoon says, so all that BS you said about Chroma grooming horror is little is false, even though this was before horror was diagnosed with DID. Tucker said, oh, you mean that? No, I never said that, nor did I say it was false. Also, DID or not, people can age regress. Horror also has chronic back pain and once said they were gonna massage it, and Chroma instantly turned it sexual. Drew made a joke. That was it. If it's in the DMs, we'll see that when we go over the chat log. Spoon says, okay, so you are saying that they groomed them. Tucker says, especially when in both scenarios the regression is from trauma and or disorders. I do believe Chroma made many situations uncomfortably sexual, yes. I can't say for sure as I wasn't there, but I have seen enough of Chroma's sexualization to draw a line. Oh, I know what you're massaging type comments. Really? If someone is uncomfortable, who is an adult, and is fully capable of communicating If they are uncomfortable, they need to tell us instead of just assuming we can read minds. Spoon says, then why are you okay with deleting the evidence of something so dire? Tucker says, people change, people move on. Personally, I'm not 100% okay with it. I mean, if you really want, I can go digging for the massage message. There was no reason to turn someone's chronic pain into something sexual. Or all the sexualizations of the copied Sona. Horror believes that people can change. Horror has always believed that. Horror believes in change. Horror believes in second chances. He always has, to the point of his own demise, to the point of letting the same abusers back in over and over with promises of change. If you don't agree with that, it's fine. I don't either, but I'm not about to go disrespecting someone's wishes. Spoon said, yeah, and y'all should try and help him pass that. And not getting into a ceasefire with a quote-unquote groomer. Spoon says they don't have to fight this alone, so why haven't y'all taken this more seriously? Oh wait, it's because the whole thing has been bullshit. Sucker says, don't know why you are suddenly changing your demeanor. Spoon says, some of it yes, some of it has been true, but I now have all the context after months of you accusing Chroma of the most heinous shit. And Tucker says, okay, so what did Chroma say when you asked them why they turned Horror's chronic pain sexual? You didn't. Not any of it has been bullshit. Spoon says, and why did you let this ceasefire happen if it's really that vile? Tucker threatens to make callouts on us and on Spoon for aiding us because we're apparently a dangerous abuser. Spoon says, and what I'm saying is Chroma can't possibly be an abuser because you agreed to this in the first place. Spoon says, but why are y'all so okay with the ceasefire with a groomer, pedophile, abuser? It's almost as if you know it's not that serious. Spoon says Chroma makes a lot of sexual jokes, yes, but how does that equate to growing littles, which is still a claim. Then Spoon says, okay, so Chroma has a quick question. Has Horror ever done sex work? This is in relation to Horror mentioning Chroma stealing their OC's stories. Which we will go over when we go over Arachnid's document, because it's in there. And Tucker says, Chroma did not steal the stories, just the look, then turned it into sex work stuff. Lilith, it was changed into events about being trafficked. Okay, for one, doing sex work consensually is not anywhere close to the same as being trafficked. So let's not equate the two. Yep, here's even Spoon saying, unfortunately, we got confirmation because the pedophile found child sexual abuse material of Chroma. And then Spoon says, the grooming, and Tucker says, there is no proof it did or didn't happen. There is no proof from Chroma that it never happened, and no proof from Horror that it did happen. That claim hasn't been used in a long time since there's no evidence to back it up. Then stop saying it. You do also have to admit someone with dissociative identity disorder cannot remember everything concisely. Has Chroma been able to? I agree, Chroma forgot those stream VODs were up. I was wrong to assume they did it on purpose. That was on me. I haven't been giving Chroma as much benefit of the doubt regarding memory loss as I should be. Spoon says, precisely, but again, if Chroma is guilty of half the shit you've accused them of, why are you okay with them going under the radar? Spoon even says because it's dumb to delete evidence of a dangerous person doing dangerous things. Yeah, it is. This I'm going to read just because it's very funny. Tucker says, also to note, Horror's old PC kind of went boom boom. Here Spoon is just saying that they want proof that the accusations against us have any evidence behind it because they're serious accusations. There's none of Patterson's mother's PII in any of our documents. Tucker says there's a screenshot that has Horror's mother's full name and phone number. If anyone can provide proof of that, then we will address it. But no. For some reason, Tucker says, I think it's also weird to openly want to talk to children on TikTok. When have we ever? When have we ever? I don't know if these are in the right order, but I'm going to scroll through these and read out anything important. I'm getting tired. This is definitely the longest section. That's why there are so many pages in this document. We're on page 127 of 204. I don't know how much more there is here. There's still a few more. It's fine. We've already addressed the situation with the 15-year-old. And here Tucker actually says, who knows if they were a minor, or if they just got into a spat with Chroma and wanted to lie. No one can say for sure. So stop bringing it up. I'm very blendy with Echo right now. Okay, and Horror accepted that a long time ago, hence why Horror stopped making that claim a long time ago. Not according to their recent streams. These are claims that Patterson is making currently, that we abuse animals and date children. So this wasn't just an alter acting out. If you're still making those claims, it's not an alter acting out. And you haven't taken responsibility for that. Horror was not aware that it was a mistake at the time. When they were aware, they stopped saying that. No, they didn't. We don't make any posts on things that don't have evidence. We actually don't make any posts about Chroma anymore. Then why were you on DeviantArt posting in our comments? Making that Google document claiming to have our nudes. Be careful. Come here. But that is the end of the Tucker section. I read out the important parts. You are free to pause and read the rest that I did not read. But I do not have the energy. My voice is giving out. I'm dissociating and switchy. And I need to end stream. 2.5 hours just for this one section. I don't know when I'll be streaming again. As I said before in the last stream, we need to take longer breaks. We did start working on the third stream document. That includes things like the art theft and vent art, so that will be soon. But thank you for watching. Again, do not go and seek anyone out. Dragon. You're gonna fall if you keep going. Okay, yeah, I need to end stream. But thank you for watching. Hydrate. Take care of yourself.